Welcome into the show. It's a Tuesday news day right here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Thanks for being with us. Madelyn, Burke, and Howard Cross with you. The phone number is 201-939-4513 or find us on Twitter at #GiantsChat. As a reminder, you can find the archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcast. It's a big day today. It is, of course, cut day in the National Football League as teams across the league have to trim their rosters from 90 to 53. We are well aware of a lot of reports coming out about which players have been on the move, which players have been waived and released, and some reported trades as well. A report that the Giants reports indicate that the Giants have traded for Boogie Basham from the Bills. So, Howard, as this roster's coming together, it's a busy day on our Tuesday Newsday show on BBK here.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. You're going to see a lot of things. Guys are going to be moving. Guys are going to get traded. It's all over the league. You're seeing things, and you just never know. Teams used to be a little more set, but once they got to 53, now it's like your team's never set. You're always trying to improve, and I think that's par for the course. I can't wait to see how this one shakes out for the team.
Right. And this is, of course, the initial 53 that will be set by today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Mm-hmm. But a lot of things could change because, of course, you got the waiver wire coming your way. And then, some tinkering heading into week one. The Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys September 10th on Sunday Night Football. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that the 53 that is in place today at 4 p.m. Eastern is going to look quite different than it will when we get to week one.
They got positions they want to shore up. They got guys they need good backups. I think they're pretty happy with a lot of their starters and everything, unless some starter kind of jumps off the map or surprisingly they go salary cap, casualty. But for the most part, I think they got their starting 22, 23 guys. The thing is that where can you find that guy that can help bolster your roster? Like what position do you need most help in, or need the most secure backup in? And that's the thing you're constantly looking for. And guys, injuries happen in this league, so you need guys that can come in and play immediately and be effective. And not they have to be a starter for the whole time, but come in and be effective for the time that they're in.
Absolutely. And, the Giants are going to be out here monitoring the talent that's available in the league. I just got to give a hat tip, though, to Paul Dottino, right? Paul Dottino, mainstay on Big Blue Kickoff Live for years. And he's retweeted a fan who chimed in and just wanted to point out that the Giants are making moves for a lot of players that he has loved in years past, too. Isaiah Simmons, a big Paul Dottino guy, course, reports again indicating Boogie Basham may be headed this way. And Paul Dottino, big fan of his as well. So P-Dots is getting a lot of his...
P-Dots has been calling the shots there.
Calling the shots over here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Basham with 2 years remaining on his rookie contract. He'll count for $1.9 million guaranteed. But we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at these position battles, though, Howard, a lot of the ones that have been shaken out in camp so far, one of the highest contested is the wide receiver room.
Yep.
The DBs. What are you anticipating those rooms to look like at the end of today?
I think you're gonna have a couple of veterans in the room, especially the wide receiver room. That's gonna kind of secure the guys. And then you're going to have all these speedsters are going to be all over the place. I think they've kind of changed their – I don't want to say change the room and change the way they think about things, but they've really looked into the grabbing guys with speed. They like guys that are open. This whole 50-50 contested pass thing, that's over with. They don't want anybody near them when they're throwing the ball to them, and they got guys that can run great routes. They're going to get open. They're very fast, sure-handed guys. So – and it's going to be a very competitive room because they're, when guys are like, oh, I ran, 24 miles an hour. That's what they tested me. Oh, well, you can't beat me in a race. And then they're like, they're going to run it down the field. They want to go big passes. They're going to be really cheering for each other, and that's going to be very exciting. In the DB room, which is the other room, you had all these rookies pop up and come on. We expected Dante Banks to come on. But no one expected, Trey Hawkins to be a guy that's going to be like, wow, he really can play. Now you got Hawkins, you got Banks, and you got Jackson.
Right.
So you got three quality guys that are going to be out there, and Jackson's able to sit there with them and talk to them and keep them, on point the entire time. Not to mention that Flotz is able to play inside, outside. And, every year he's just going to get better and better. He was good last year. He has incredible ball skills. And for his size, a willing tackler. So that's all excellent stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're looking at the way that this roster is being put together, this team is being designed, obviously it's for success in the season, success in the division, but of course success in week one against the Dallas Cowboys. And you talk about these receivers creating, separation. Something that we've seen a lot of, whether it be throughout training camp, within the limited reps that we saw the starters getting in the preseason. There's a lot of motion in this offense, a lot of separation created by the speed and the design of this offense. And when you've got a week one opponent in the Dallas Cowboys in that defense with Trayvon Diggs out there, you need to have that separation to get some points on the board.
But Diggs can't cover everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they have two guys. Like if Dallas has two guys, they have two excellent corners. So I think of is it Gilmore? It's Gilmore. And Gilmore is going to be on one side. Diggs is going to be on the other side. So that means they're going to have a quality slot guy to cover whoever's in the slot, and they're going to have a quality guy to cover the tight end. So if the Giants were in 11 personnel, they don't have enough guys to cover all those guys.
Right.
And that's what the Giants have done. And not to mention, if having Waller out there doesn't mean you're necessarily in 11 personnel. It could be you could be in like 10 personnel basically, because he acts as a receiver in a lot of situations, and he's a matchup nightmare. So that's what the Giants have done. They've just put more bodies on the field that can cause teams to have matchup nightmares. And if you don't have enough corners or enough quality corners or a great cover safety, you're going to have trouble covering these guys.
Absolutely. And as we're continuing to monitor the reports coming in, we remind you all listening as well that, until the Giants officially acknowledge some of these moves, that we are still calling them reported roster moves, as the team narrows it down to 53 by the 4 p.m. league deadline. Another position, though, that we've been monitoring a lot is this offensive line. This is a line that, for years, the Giants as an organization have said this is a priority. This is something that we need to have a strength in offensive line. And there's been some tinkering, some monitoring, some movement around. We've seen a lot of different guys getting some reps, some significant reps throughout the preseason. When you're looking at the way that this group takes shape heading into week one, what stands out to you, Cross?
Well, I see three of the five guys I know are going to be there, week in and week out, as long as they stay healthy. And that's Thomas on the outside, all pro, John Michael Schmitz in the middle, the rookie drafted third round out of Minnesota, and of course Evan Neal on the far right at the right tackle. Now here's where it gets interesting, and these guys will start, but there's not necessarily a starter. Glowinski and Bredesen and Izzuto. Last year, we watched in the first 3 to 4 games, maybe more, these guys were rotating in, trying to, quote unquote, find the correct matchup, who's going to do what best and how we could get them in. And they were rotating in from not like game to game, series to series. This whole training camp, off season, they've been trying to get, 2 of these guys to be, okay, let's be the guy. And they just really haven't separated themselves.
Right.
So they're going to go into the season. I don't know if they're going to continue with the same rotation, moving guys around and trying to see if they're going to have one guy, that are if that's going to be in and the other 2 guys are going to rotate. It's just going to be very interesting to see how they're going to do it.
Right. And it's also going to be interesting to see how they do it based upon, run versus pass, because if you do it too much in those ways, it becomes a tell. It's just going to be series to series. It's not going to be run versus pass. It's going to be like, okay, you get the first 2 series, you get the next 2 series, you get the next 2 series. Okay, can you do it on this side? Can you do it on that side? That kind of thing. When they were doing it last year, I can remember calling up to John, what is going on? Why are they rotating the guards? And we're like, by game 2, we're they're going to rotate the guards. Little information going back and forth. Gotta do that. And this is a question for you, Howard. We're getting questions from live in the studio. All right. Well, it's not a real live question. That's a John question. It's a John question.
John doesn't get to ask questions.
Yeah, it's a moment of urgency. You got to ask it right now.
Yeah, get it right.
201-939-4513 is the phone number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Madelyn, Burke, and Howard Cross. Tweet at us at Madelyn Burke, at Howard Cross 87. Or use the hashtag Giants Chat to join the conversation. I'm trying to move this microphone, keep it out of my face. Sorry, Pearson. I'm just hiding behind the mic right
That's
here.
Funny.
Before we get to the calls, I just want to remind you all that make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present, Plus, hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or simply go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you're on an Apple podcast, leave a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. Plus, run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 8th at 9:00 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative T-shirt after the race. And make sure you stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. But let's head over and get to the phone lines, because I know we've got some callers that have been waiting, starting with Jim from New York, who has been waiting the longest. Jim, what's happening?
Hey, how are you today? I appreciate you taking my call.
Of course. Problem. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I got a question for you. Well, actually, 2 questions, 2 concerns. I don't think we have a power back for the 4th and 1 goal line stuff. I know Saquon obviously is a stud, but, the people behind him, Matt Breida, whether it's Josh Corbin or Gray, none of these guys are really what I would call a 4th and goal line or 4th and first down runner. It seems since Ahmad Bradshaw or Brandon Jacobs, we really haven't had that 240-pound back to get that last foot or yard. And I was wondering if you thought they were going to try to address that now. And my other question is, I don't think we really have a quality punt returner, which we really haven't had, seems to me, forever. I know this Gray kid is, trying out and is doing a decent job. He just doesn't really, in my opinion, have that first step or that breakaway speed. And I know it takes a while to get all these positions in order, and then Dave's and Joe are doing a great job. I just wonder what you thought about those 2 positions.
All right, so we'll start off with back and being the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 guy. The way the team's been playing, the way they've been kind of designing things, the punch in run is not necessarily a direct handoff going right downhill. I don't think that, not a lot of teams really do that anymore. And if they do, there's almost a fullback that's getting the ball that's trying to do it, because the guys in the middle are so big and so strong. So it's just a pile of bodies, and it's hard to get that 1 yard. It's more like 4th and an inch maybe, and that's more like a quarterback sneak almost. And then they just don't. I don't see it a lot as much as they used to. And I think they pretty much eliminated where everybody crowds behind the quarterback and pushes him across for the first down as well. So those plays are going to be more misdirection, trying to get guys to move and get that linebacker to not be directly behind the nose tackle or the D tackle, so that you can get the ball in. So that's one. On the second question was
what's about returns, which
punt
we saw.
returns.
Yeah, we saw Eric Gray, like you mentioned,
and or kickoffs. We just really not. I know there's probably only 40% kickoffs that are returned. We just don't. We haven't had that guy.
Well, they just haven't had him. Like in the last few years, it's been barren, and they've been growing. Grow what you're going to use, like every play. It's kind of like playing golf. If you go out to play golf and you only hit your driver at the driving range, you wind up hitting like 50 or 60 shots inside of 200 yards. You have to work on those shots more. So that's kind of what happens with football teams. They have to get everybody else kind of in place. I think you want a guy that can catch the ball, and maybe if you get a first down out of him, like he can get 10 yards of carry return, that's kind of what we're always looking for, especially in punt, because secure
the balls.
Yeah, because if we play a lot of games in stadiums, no big deal. If we play a lot of games outside, like this stadium used to blow from end zone to end zone. Now it blows from sideline to sideline when the wind's really whooping. And you can see kickers when they're trying to kick field goals. They're like going over to talk to a special teams coach. Hey, look, this is about the distance. Don't even try it from any further. They're like, yeah, you usually kick it 20 yards further. Like, just trust me. Yeah. Just look at this. Look how the ball's moving. So you can see a lot of guys doing it. It's as bad as it is for the kickers trying to get the field goals. It's even worse for the returner.
Right.
Because when they put the ball with the spin on the ball, like if you can get them to catch it. Like we watched in a preseason game, I think somebody didn't catch the ball on the road like 40 yards before it stopped. You got to get the guy to catch the ball. He has to catch the ball, secure the ball first, especially when you're catching it around the 20 and you can stop it from rolling inside the 10 or inside the 5. If you can get guys that can catch the ball every time, then that helps out tremendously from the start point of your offense. The actual returner guys that get up the field, I in the league itself, I don't know how many guys that there are, that are really great. I don't know how many teams that have really great returners.
Yeah.
I just don't. And in the league, and it's a sad thing for me because I played on a lot of special teams, but the league is definitely moving further and further away from the return game and trying to take it out of football.
Well, and the rules have shifted so much around the returns, whether it be the punt or the kickoff and what have you, for player safety. For player safety. So it does make it a little bit more challenging to break off a huge return. But I mean, and talk about just the difference in the return game as well. I mean, Eric Gray, Jim, you mentioned this. I mean, he was kind of the guy that they've been looking to quite a bit in this preseason. But in college, in his 4 years in college between Oklahoma and Tennessee, he had less than a dozen returns in either punt or kickoff combined. And this is something new that they've been asking him to do. And I was talking to him after the Detroit game. He's like, the dome thing, Howard, you talked about the way the ball carries. Another thing, though, is just the lighting.
Yes.
The lights on the inside of the dome when you're looking up that way. It's like so ceiling. Much. Yeah, you lose it a little bit. So there's so many elements that go into it.
Yeah, I've just been watching I've been a fan forever. I mean, I go back to the John Mendenhall, Randy Dean era, Rocky Thompson. So I haven't seen anybody run a pump back for the Giants or a kickoff. It seems like forever. So I guess I'm looking for that dream ticket that might not be coming.
No, I don't know if it's coming. I doubt that there are more than 10 returns for touchdowns next year,
right.
For all the kicks that are going to happen because
across the league.
Yeah, it's just going to be one of those things that somebody didn't hustle because they don't. No one really is returning. And all of a sudden, they're not really returning. We're watching this guy here. If he slows down, let's go at him. They scout you for that, but. It's just not. The league has changed. They're trying to eliminate big collisions, and that's those two things, the two returns, are the thing they're trying to slow down and get rid of as much as possible. So that's why you're not seeing it. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jim from New York. Thanks for the call. But it's so true. I mean, it's such a different beast, the way that the rules have changed. And unless you've got a Cordell Patterson back there or something like that, somebody who's really specializes in that.
You really would need to have a guy. And then you know what happens? They kick it into the end zone.
Right.
Or they punt it into the end zone, or they punt it out of bounds to keep you from touching it. Mm-hmm. The league doesn't, and I keep saying the league, and it's like I'm beating on the league, get off my yard guy, but they have really moved away from returning the ball.
Sure.
And even though it's an important part of the game, an exciting play, they're let's we can do without it. So that's going to be interesting.
Eric Gray is still very young too, and he's still learning that position. So
absolutely.
I just think there's still hope there.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's not like he can't. I mean, we saw glimmers of it too. We saw a big run from him that was called back from a penalty.
Yeah, that's why it was a big run.
Touche.
The thing is like a guy like Eric Gray. Eric Gray is really, if he catches the ball, has some room, he's quick enough to get that 10, 15, 20 yards. Mm-hmm. What he's asking for is we're going to get some returns for touchdowns, big returns.
Right.
There's a lot that encompasses a run for a touchdown.
Right.
You got to get guys out of position.
Yeah.
And I mean, really out of position. If you make the first guy miss and then everybody else is kind of the return that we had against us in the preseason.
Right. No. Which again, though, it doesn't entirely fall on the returner. It also falls on the rest of special teams.
No, the punter outkicked the coverage. Mm-hmm. The gunners weren't down in time. The ball was in the air for so long,
exactly.
and so far down. The guys they're running okay, we get that's gonna be a 42-yard. Okay, it's 50. Okay, we're at 60 yards now. We're at 60 yards, and you start following people trying to draft off of them, so you don't have to catch any wind.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there's lanes everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what happens. And you're just running for so long. Okay, did he catch the ball? You start to drift. You have to maintain. You got this guy touching you the whole time, trying to keep you out of position and move you over and do whatever. And you're like, okay, well, I'll get over here. I beat you. You get in front of him. All of a sudden, when you get in front of him, you've gone out of position. You've outran him. In your mind, you're like, I have defeated this guy. He's behind me. He can't catch me. I'm going to make the tackle. Then you look over beside you. The guy that was supposed to be 10 or 15 yards from you is 30 yards from you. And you're like, might be a gap right there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happens.
You just, you got to keep your eyes on the prize and,
you
stay ready. You don't have to get ready.
Stay in your lane. You
Yeah.
got to stay in your lane. And it's hard to do when, like, it's good for like 30 yards. It's really great at 30 yards. It's good at 40. It's not so good at 50. If it goes past that, you're all over the place.
Right.
It's just like spaghetti. It's gone. You have no idea which way they're going.
It's like spaghetti. It's gone.
You'd be shocked. You just, if you could look at it from the end zone.
What
Is that Paul Dottino right
Yeah,
I was like, how does this make it make sense?
This what it looks like. Here they go, and then.
Okay, so for the people who are listening and cannot watch, Howard is just making his hand more and more wiggly as it goes on.
That's what it looks like.
And that is his.
It looks like spirit. It looks like spirit fingers by the time it gets
spirit fingers.
You got a wide open hand.
I'm just imagining the people who are listening to the podcast and not actually watching the video. Be like, here's what it looks like, and I'm like,
all I got to tell them is, okay,
how do I articulate
put your hand
this?
up, spread your fingers, and move it forward. And before your arm extends all the way out, do spirit fingers. That's what it looks like. Because at the end of that, that's what it looks like if it's too long. That's out kicking your coverage.
I'd like to imagine that all of our listeners right now are just doing this at home, just
fingers.
like, this is it. This is spaghetti right here. But listen, special teams, as we know, a great way to make a roster. And a lot of guys that are going to be needing to have some special teams play to make and or stay on this or any roster around the National Football League, as of course cut day is today. Paring down to the first 53-man roster by 4 p.m. Eastern.
Now, what do you mean by the first 53?
I mean that at 4 p.m. Eastern, there have to be only 53 guys on this roster. Now, when those cuts happen, a lot of the guys who are cut will go onto the waiver wires, as will everyone else across the league, the cuts. And the front office, Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, the scouting department is going to be monitoring this. They've got a system in place where they've kind of, much like draft, they've actually gone through and kind of addressed the areas of need for this team. They've gone through and kind of rated players that they think could become available. And if they do become available, it'll populate in their system and they'll say, okay, this player is now available in the waiver wire. They will then decide, okay, do we make a move? Are we happy with the position group as it is set in the first 53, or are we going to continue to tinker, which I would imagine they will, much like every other team. We'll have that 53 set by the 4 p.m. deadline, and then we'll continue to tinker once they see what other players become available across the league. And whether it's the next 24 hours of waivers, whether it's some free agency, whether it's trades. We've seen them make a couple trades so far, reportedly another one today. So
it's more like, Madelyn, you've made the team. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Next week. Psych, we found somebody.
Plot twist. Yes. So it's like there are a lot of guys today who are gonna exhale a little bit, but not completely, because
Coach's speech will be, "Hey, look, we really appreciate you. Good job, man, coming this far. You've done a good job. You have made the first 53.
Right.
Continue to work hard. Put stuff on film, because no one team in the NFL is set today.
Right.
We just need to get down to 53. So, just be prepared, okay? You know who you are.
And there are players that, perhaps were waived today that may be brought back. There are players that might be brought back to a practice squad, which of course won't happen until later this week. There are players that are going to continue to prove their worth. They'll be practicing this afternoon as well. So we'll be seeing what happens there in practice, what happens with this team as they continue to come together. And there's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made.
This is definitely the hardest practice for guys of the year.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's like an emotional roller coaster. Guys you've gotten to know, some guys that have been on the team for a while. Like I remember my rookie year, all these guys I had watched from the '86 Super Bowl and everything, and they were like buddies and stuff. And when they let a couple of those guys go, there were guys, going over and hugging them glassy-eyed. Hey, man, hey, Good luck. Go ahead. I'll see you. I'm pulling for you. I'm like, what in the world is this?
It's an emotional day, because while these are players and assets and roster spots and all, these are people. These are humans, and these are your coworkers and your colleagues and your friends and the guys that you've been going to battle with in these preseason games or perhaps in seasons past.
And a lot of these guys spend more time together than they do with their own family.
Exactly.
And that's where it gets a little touchy and stuff. So, but you got to do it. It's part of it.
It's a part of the business. It's show business, not show friendships, right?
No, exactly.
But of course, we keep that in mind. We keep the human element in mind, and we wish some of these guys the best. Because for some of these guys today, when they get that call, when they turn in their playbook, this will be the end of their football career.
That is where that to me is the most amazing thing.
That is the amazing thing. When they turn in that playbook, there are some men out there across this National Football League where this is it. They pivot to a new direction in life. There are a lot of these guys that are going to get picked up by other teams, by practice squads that will have other shots. But for some of them, that might be it. And so keep that in mind, the human element of it.
You're the best. You're the best. You're the best. You're not the best. We need to move on.
Exactly.
So
you know what?
That's a little scary.
And you got to, it's one thing to get to the highest level, but it's another thing to stay at the highest level. And that is something that requires consistent work and effort day in and day out.
Yeah, but Father Time's undefeated.
Father Time is undefeated indeed. You know who else is undefeated on the phone lines? A constant, a tradition unlike any other.
Please don't do it.
I am really just honored and privileged to welcome to the show, who's been holding the longest online too, Charlie from Maine. Charlie from Maine on BBK. What's up, Charlie?
Don't you remember Nancy Reagan just say no? Why you do that to me? Hey, Charlie, what's going on?
Hi, Howard, man.
What's going on?
Charlie is the most joyful critic we have ever heard of.
Hey, look, it's taken me a long time. I'm staying on top. You know, you do have to work at it. You have to be consistent. You have to
wait. Are you saying that because you're calling up just to criticize and that's what's making you on top? That's what this is?
He's consistent, if nothing else.
He goes, exactly. That's what it is. So I got it now.
I like how we see
I had said that to somebody. I don't think he's a fan of the Giants. I think he just calls up to heckle them.
Oh,
the constant.
Yes, I am, Howard.
It must be muscle memory for
Giants.
Oh yeah.
I was a fan of the Giants, Howard, before you were born. That's
probably you're a little older than me, probably, maybe.
Yeah,
but you really are a fan of the Giants?
I'm 74, Howard.
So let me ask you a question, because I heard this today, and I thought this was the most interesting take about fans I'd ever heard. So when the Giants win, do you say we won?
Say that again?
When the Giants win, do you say we won?
No.
You never say we won?
Are you not a we guy?
No.
You're not saying we play Dallas and we won?
No, I'm an I guy.
Oh, my Lord.
I team.
Okay.
No. I say we won. Okay,
I was just checking. So, and when they lose, you got to, what do you say?
I didn't lose. They lost.
We win, they lose. That's what someone told me today. I said, I never realized that before.
Exactly.
That is fandom. Okay, go ahead. Let me hear what you got today, Charlie.
Hey, look, O-line, we need desperate help. Now, I've seen the waiver wire. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Philly have released O-linemen, and they have a really strong offensive line, all three of those teams. I hope we are looking at those guys and trying to bring them in. There was a report that Tyree Phillips was cut. He played not bad last year. And we're keeping Burke. You saw Burke play against the Jets. And that, our swing tackle, my God, our offensive line is in shambles. We have no depth. We can't even decide who the starters are at guard. And if you don't have a starter, then go out and get one. If these guys can't really start because they're all the same, kind of like mediocre, then you should go out and get somebody who's a blue chip guy. But Shane can't do that. You know why? Because he has no money. All he can bring in is cow chips. That's all he can bring in because he has no money. We're like $3 million under the cap right now.
So let me ask you something. That's his fault that they're over the cap?
Yeah, it's his fault. He gave Daniel Jones $84 million guaranteed. That was his first big mistake. Ever signing that guy for that amount of money.
Imagine this. Next year when all those contracts are done, the quarterbacks, he'll be the lowest paid starting quarterback in the league. And then,
he should be the lowest paid. He should be a backup.
So this is what this is your thing. You're we, and then you just don't like Daniel Jones. So if the Giants, let me ask you, it sounds personal. If the Giants go to the playoffs again and Daniel wins all the way up to the NFC Championship game, what happens? So he's still a bad quarterback?
Well, I'll tell you what. If that happens, then I just won the lottery. That's how much I think it's going to happen.
but I'm just saying. But if that happens, like what are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? I don't know about the lottery. Like that doesn't matter. But like, what are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? I think you want him.
Depends on how he plays.
You want him to fail more than anything else.
Did he do it, or was it Barkley who was doing it? You know, that's going to be the difference.
So,
or is it?
All right, Charlie.
Was Jones mediocre? I don't know. But all I'm saying is the offensive line is a problem on this team. We have no depth.
Well,
so I hope we go out and get some people, right?
Yeah, that's true. But that's more than 70% of the teams in the league have problems at offensive line for whatever reason. They just don't grow on trees anymore, I guess. These guys aren't. And, Charlie is he's like every other fan. He sounds like he could call into the Jets and have the same conversation. He could call into like a lot of teams. A lot of teams are struggling to field offensive lines right now.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, you can get one great guy. You might get two great guys. You may even get three. You'll never have five. There'll be a hole or patch something, and you got to figure out how to build it. I think the Giants have three solid guys, and then three guys that are going to be in a rotation, trying to make sure that they have the other two guys solid as well. I think the offensive line, especially because Neal won't be on one leg. I hope he's not on one leg.
Right.
So he'll be better. Any amount of ability to change direction and stuff would help him out tremendously. You know what Thomas is going to do. John Michael Schmitz has gotten where he's gotten. It hadn't played in a regular season game yet, but he's been baptized in fire because he plays against Dex every day. So that helps him out.
Yeah.
So you're just looking for the other two guys to kind of fill in. Two of the three guys to be the guy. So hopefully they can figure that out and move forward with it.
Yeah, and they're going to be, again, this is why there's the first 53, and they're going to continue. If this is a thing that Charlie sees, the front office sees it. They want to address it.
If Charlie and the front office are looking at the same thing, I'm going to be so afraid.
Oh, no.
So afraid.
Oh, no.
Charlie knows I'm joking.
201. 201-939-4513. And hey, Giants fans, take your fandom to the next level with a season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2023 season. To learn more about all the exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. Phone lines are filling up as we've got another caller, Jeff from Maine. Jeff, living down the street from Charlie, I wonder. Jeff from Maine on line one. What's going on, Jeff?
Oh, hey. Thanks for taking my call. You two are two of my favorite guys there.
Thank
well,
you.
at least I got an easy act to follow. No, I got an offensive line question.
Okay.
I got the opposite view of the previous caller. I'm optimistic. I think we got at least 6 good guys there. And but I know it's good to have an offensive lineman be able to play 2 positions like Bredesen. So I was thinking, what would you think about the feasibility of possibly putting Josh Azudu in the mix for backup tackle? So I've heard he's got good lateral quickness, and he's still kind of developing.
That's a good question. I don't know if he's ever played tackle. Has Josh Azudu ever played tackle?
He was a guard at Carolina.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he has. I think he's been like a guard his whole career. So that's kind of interesting. But that's a lot to learn, and for your steps and when you're a guard, you have some help. The center, you have some help. When you're at tackle, the reason you're playing tackle is because they're going to put that guy on the edge of your shoulder, and you got to be able to change directions inside, outside, and you're usually by yourself out there. Did they say corners are on the island? Tackles are usually the guys that are on the island.
Yeah, and he has gotten some reps at tackle during practice. Of course, last year during training camp and OTAs and stuff like that.
When they were desperate?
Yeah, of course. Okay. They've tried it. They've tried it, not in a game, but they've moved him around a little bit during OTAs last year.
He's a third
round pick. He was a third round pick out of North Carolina, and they're looking at him like, okay, he's a guard. He has played guard, but let's see what he can do in these other positions. I don't know how much they would rely on him in a game situation in that way.
I think he would be right guard, left guard, maybe even center, but I don't think he moves outside to the tackle position unless a lot of guys get nicked up really quickly and they couldn't find anybody in the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought you played a little tackle in college.
I don't
just
remember.
think I'd like to have one of your 6 best guys out there.
Yeah.
As much as possible. But anyway, that's all I got. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Appreciate the call, Jeff. Thanks so much.
He thought we had 6 good linemen. I like that. So
I like that. You know, see the optimism. This is a little balance right here. So thank you so much to the great state of Maine for providing us both sides of the offensive line conversation. Jeff and Charlie both calling in with some notes. 201-939.
Jeff right now. How dare you?
4513. I wonder if they'll get together for lunch and just argue it out.
No.
I hope so. We've got Peter in Florida on the line. Peter, what's happening?
First off, Peter, hopefully you guys are safe down there. I'm not sure where you are in Florida with the hurricane coming, so be careful down there.
Oh, thank you. I'm in the Florida Keys, but this is actually going to devastate West Coast Florida. So my prayers out to those guys. We're probably pretty lucky. We're right in the middle of the Keys, but I'm on emergency response to the electric company here, so we're on standby.
All right, well.
Just a couple quick questions for you. One specifically for you, Howard. Howard, if you were the coach of the Giants, how would you best integrate Darren Waller? Would you have a lot of double tight end sets? Would you split him out wide? How would you kind of maximize his potential for the Giants?
I'd let him play all the positions. I wouldn't designate him in one position or try to put him out wide or whatever. I'd make him be able to catch balls and be able to be a part of the running game for all parts of the game, and that would maximize his abilities so far, because guys don't expect him to block. So when he starts to block them, they're not like trying to run over him or run by him. They're like, wait a minute, I thought he was going out for a pass, kind of thing. So it's going to take 4 or 5 games for them to pick up on the blocking part of his game. Then you're going to have receiving, an inline tight end. You can't cover him because the guy that's over him is usually a linebacker. If you split him out to the slot, the linebacker steps down inside, and the safety usually tries to step down. Safeties 50-50 covering guys at that size, mostly not. If you try to put a corner on him, corners aren't usually tall enough to cover him. So, you can split him out. It's the same thing. He's just a nightmare wherever he is. You can start him in tight and motion him out and put him out there. That messes up the defense. You can start him at wide and motion him in, and all of a sudden they're in the wrong personnel, and they're outmanned on the outside because he's blocking over there. So there's a lot of ways to use him that just makes it, it just makes Dayball's offense look great. They have a lot of things they can do with him.
Use him as a decoy. I mean, you look at that opening drive. We saw one drive as a small sample size in of the starters in the preseason, but again, that opening drive, Daniel Jones went to him the first 3 times. We saw that. The touchdown pass to Daniel Bellinger is because Darren Waller, 2, maybe 3. They were
trying to make sure he wasn't getting in the end zone.
Yeah, there were 2 guys and a third defender closing in on Waller, making sure that he didn't score a touchdown, and then that opens it up for everyone else. So
I imagine Kafka sleeps pretty easily at night, and we're thinking about that. Like, okay, now what can I do? I got a new toy. This is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be great.
No, it's definitely gonna be a good time for them.
I can't wait to see Waller up the seam, especially when Wandell comes back. So he is going to do all the gadget stuff. Wandell's up the seam. I am so excited for this year. It's just so many more toys, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah, they got guys.
Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Thanks so much,
thanks
Peter.
for the call.
Thanks for the call.
Like I said before, there's a lot of guys in the toy box. That a lot of tools in the box here. You can do things from Hodgins to Slayton to Campbell to Hyatt, the Shepard, who I don't know if Beasley or whoever else is going to be in there. You think about Robinson if and when he comes back. There are so many guys that are going to be out there, and then all of a sudden, hey, look, if I get bored, hey, Saquon, here you go, catch one of those. Go ahead, go get them.
Right.
Like they're going to be running down the field chasing all these other guys. When you do dump the ball outside to Saquon, he's going to be one-on-one with a linebacker that's couldn't tackle him probably in the open field to begin with. Now he's got a full head of speed. It could be very interesting out there.
Right. Well, and you look at the fact that Darren Waller drawing so much attention and so much conversation as a tight end on this team. People forget about Daniel Bellinger and the chemistry that Daniel Jones had with Daniel Bellinger last season. The 2 of them connected on some pretty big plays. So that offense with all those players that you just mentioned being threats on the field also will open it up for Bellinger as well. He's like the Connecticut Sun of the WNBA. Everyone talking about the Liberty and the Aces, but don't forget about the Sun too.
Exactly. I think also you have to realize that all these things are going to how are you going to play the team?
Right.
Are you going to try to play them man-to-man? Are you going to try to drop back and play them in zone? Do you think your defensive line is going to get there? We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to cover these guys, and all of a sudden Daniel Jones runs out the back end with the ball. So
right.
there's he's another part of the offense that we don't really talk about because he's got so many weapons that he's also a weapon himself. So there's multiple guys that can cause problems for the offense if they hold up front.
We got options out here, of course.
We got options, man.
And if you want to see it in person, don't forget the 2023 NFL schedule is officially out and single game tickets are on sale now. Don't miss the Giants at MetLife Stadium this season. Visit giants.com/tickets to secure your seat. Plus, the Giants' official connected TV streaming app, Giants TV, brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and of course on the Giants mobile app. 201-939-4513. Big Blue Kickoff live on Tuesday, August 29th with Madelyn, Burke, and Howard Cross. Yeah. The phone lines are filling up. We've got Brendan from Princeton who's been holding the longest. Brendan, what's happening?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Very good. How are we doing?
Very good. Very excited. I think we got a lot of new players that are, ready to contribute, right out of the box. So happy about that. I did want to talk about the offensive line some more. I'm going to side with. I think the guy's name was Jess. I'm very hopeful for our core group of guys. I think Evan Neal is going to take that next step. I think John Michael Schmitz is going to be plug and play. I think we're going to, rotate some guys at guard, and Thomas, I don't have to worry about him. Mm-hmm. But I'm worried about the depth. I know it's hard to find good depth. I'm just having nightmares about Matt Hurt. It's giving me like Eric Flowers flashbacks. So I want to see what you guys thought about that, and I'm going to have to team around that if some guys get hurt.
Well,
otherwise, I'm excited, and then the last thing I wanted to touch about is schedule difficulty. I just think we've had very tough schedules the last 2 years. But I'll leave it at that, and thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for calling in, Brendan. Schedule difficulty, that's one thing that you just can't really do much about. You got to play when the games are scheduled, and right now the difficulty of schedule may look different than it does when we're in the season. Of course, that West Coast travel is going to be a lot, but we're judging these teams based on how they performed last year. And as we saw even last year, right? Remember the Tennessee Titans, you'd think they're going to be one team, they come in as another. So,
well, I think it's a little rougher this year. I think,
it is.
How many games are there in the first 25 days or 30 days?
There are 3 games in the first 11 days of the season.
That is rough.
Yeah. 2 of them on prime time.
Yeah. That's
you got
yeah.
7 of the first 10 games on the road. You got 4 of the first 6 in prime time, I believe. So yeah, it's going to be
it's going to be
gauntlet
tough
to start the season.
And the reason why it's going to be tough, just so the fans understand, when you say you have 7 games or 3 games in 11 days or whatever it is, think about this. There's proper rest the guy's supposed to get every 7 days. You're supposed to get a break, and when you get that break, you're able to go back and play. If you're playing that many games in 11 days, there's not 7 days between them, and that's where the problem starts to happen.
But it's not just the physical rest of your body; it's the mental. Right? You go into a game, you're looking at a matchup, right? Week 1, you're focusing on the Dallas Cowboys. You're looking at the Dallas Cowboys, you're studying tape on the Dallas Cowboys. Not until after that game do you really start turning your attention to the Arizona Cardinals. And then, in theory. Well, then you got a short turnaround to turn your attention to the San Francisco 49ers and this and that. So physically and mentally, that bounce back.
I think mentally you can do it.
Yeah.
I think mentally you got to set up, you run your offense the way you run your offense. Defensively, I think you have a little harder time because you got to recognize where these guys are and what sets they're in. Offensively, it's like, okay, we're going to run this. We don't care what you're doing. We're going to run this, and you're going to have to stop us.
But to be fair, Wink's defense is kind of that way, too.
Yeah.
We're going to dictate what you're doing. Yeah. As much as most defenses are reactive, Wink's like, no. We're going to tell you how to play.
So the problem is the physical, like getting on a plane and going somewhere, the swelling hasn't gotten a chance to go down. It's just you don't get your proper rest because usually, hey, I get done with practice. I can go lay on my couch for a little bit, and that's where I catch my big nap or something with my feet up or whatever it is that you're doing. They've eliminated that for, I don't know how many teams it's going to affect, but I know for sure it's going to really affect the Giants. And if they can stay healthy, if they can stay strong and be able to, have a decent split in these first few games, then they'll have a chance to really make a run at things. Right. But these first few games, it is not a gauntlet. It's this is going to be tough.
But if they get through this first part of the season unscathed, the last part of the season, when you're making a push for whether it's seeding or playoff push or what have you, if they get there, and it kind of eases off the gas a little bit.
I would love to say so. You still got the AFC. You got the AFC East.
Yeah.
You got you got the Seattles. You got San Francisco. We got the Eagles twice, Cowboys twice, the Commanders twice. It's a good schedule. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out. But I said, if they can get to a spot where they can get to a normal, hey, look, we got 6 days before the next game moment.
Right.
Then they can play.
Right. Well, and also too, I mean, you just got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And you got to be ready for when these games are scheduled because, and no matter whom the opponent is, whether it's a team that was in a playoff game last year or whether it is a team that you're not expecting much from, you got to bring your best because any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, anything can happen.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, you wait till we hit the schedule for next when it starts happening. You're gonna be like, I'm a little worn out. This is a little.
I mean, Cross.
And we're not playing.
We're not playing, and we get worn out doing the broadcast.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for the guys. That's why I'm like really excited for the season start, and at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I could have done this at the end of my career.
Oh, I know the turnaround as well. Just I mean, not playing the games, but just talking about the games for us is like, okay, this is going to be a lot, but we got this. We are locked in. We are ready.
We could catch Charlie 3 times in 1 week. That would be tough.
Imagine. I do appreciate though that this caller kind of had a little bit more of a positive outlook on the offensive line too.
We love positive. We love
positive. I think we got to all of their points, questions, comments, concerns. Let's keep it moving though, because of course phone lines open 201-939-4513. Doug in Glen Falls calling in. Doug, what's happening?
Hi, I forgot your name, and you seem to do a pretty good job, young lady. But
Madelyn Burke.
Yeah, I'll go directly to Howard because I have a lot of respect for Howard because I don't know how you put up with Charlie because I'm 75 years old, and if Charlie's really a Giants fan, he's a hypocrite because Danny Dimes, he's gone through so much. Because in New York, if you can't take the heat. Because Eli went through it, and Danny Dimes being around Eli, I helped him go prepare. But this poor kid's been through the mill, and this kid, with the weapons he's got now, if he doesn't have a great year, there's something wrong.
Okay, I hear you.
What I see in the preseason and the offensive line, I know we don't have great depth, but I can't believe we're going to have as many injuries. And the new turf seems to be playing out that we aren't going to have as many key injuries as we did last year during the season. So I think the offense and the Giants overall, and then I know you can't comment at Howard, but I saw a bleep on the internet that Art Stapleton's reporting that Boogie Basham's being traded from Buffalo to the Giants for some late 2025 picks. Now, if you ask Paul, I know he loved this guy coming out of the draft. I think he's a pass rusher. If that's true, our defense is going to be kicking butt.
I hope so. We'll see. We know that's a good report, and we're hearing some of the same stuff. We're just waiting for the official word. Hopefully we get it before we get off, but I doubt it. But if it's not, you'll hear the official word in the next couple of days on Boogie. As far as the team and being positive. And also remember, guys, and I want all you guys to know, we pick on Charlie and everything, but that's what Charlie wants. He every time you say his name,
it's all with love.
It's like Beetlejuice. You keep saying his name, he comes back. So no, but that's part of his self promotion. Like you said, it's like do you say we or me? He goes, no, I say I. So, I got that.
I am a big fan of Charlie here. He sparks joy.
But as far as yes, the offensive line is definitely improved. They're playing better. They're getting a little continuity. Yes, they're probably going to rotate the guards early on in the season until 2 of them step up and become the guy for real, as we would say, as my daughter would say. But I think that's going to be good. I think there's a lot of weapons out there, and as long as quote unquote they can keep that jersey clean on number 8, I think that it's going to look a lot better for a lot of the season. Again, I'm shading that with they have a really, really tough start to the season.
Yeah.
Not so much teams. I won't say the teams are going to be so great or not so great. It's just the scheduling and how close they are together and what's going on. And it's going to be interesting to see how the training staff gets these guys to rest and get themselves back recuperated and ready to go.
Well, and shoring up this defense too. I mean, because they say defense travels better than offense does, right?
Yeah, it does.
So defense travels, and this team is going to be traveling. So you got to have a solid defense on the road to be ready to take on some of these matchups, especially on the West Coast.
With the emergence or the arrival of Isaiah Simmons last week, I'm telling you right now, that kid's going to be a difference maker. I think he's got a new lease on life getting out of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him, 5 pressures and 5 snaps.
He's a hey, coach, thank you, thank you, coach, thank you.
But this is also one of the things that this coaching staff does is they look at players and they say, hey, what did you like doing? Like Darren Waller talked about this when he first got to the Giants organization. He said something that he hasn't really experienced before on the pro level as a coach, saying, hey, what routes did you enjoy running? What did you like doing best? Let's incorporate some of that, because as a player, if you're doing something that you feel like you're good at, you feel like you enjoy doing, you'll do it well. And they want to build a scheme around that. Isaiah Simmons comes in. Dable said, what did you enjoy doing most? He's like, rushing the passer. It's like, all right, go get him.
Here's your ticket. Go into the game. No, it's good. So they do a lot of match, as we say when you go fly fishing, matching the hatch. Everything kind of works out for everybody the entire time, and I'm impressed with how they pull it off week in and week out. It looks different every week, and they've just incorporated somebody who likes to do something. Hey, you really like that? We'll get you in there in some of those plays. The guys are doing it, and they were successful with it last year. They should be a lot more successful with it this coming year. Absolutely.
Doug, thanks so much for the call. And that was Doug, 201-939-4513. Howard Cross and this young lady, Madelyn Burke, here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Mark in Orlando on the line.
There's a certain young lady, we don't remember her name.
I don't know your name, but you seem to be doing all right. Hey, you know what? I take that as a compliment. There's a lot worse things you could have said.
That was pretty funny.
That was very
funny. But he was very nice about it.
But he was very nice about it. And
nice
you know what? This man has been a Giants fan for a very long time. And I'm glad he got the opportunity to chat with one Howard Cross right here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Mark in Orlando on the line. What's happening, Mark?
Hey, what's going on? I know who you are, young lady. But I had one comment and a couple of questions. I love the NY logo on midfield. I think that looks great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was writing that since I was like back in 1958 when I first started following the Giants. So it's so cool to see that. And my questions were, too, is Simmons going to be number 9?
There have been reports, but it is not yet official because, of course, Graham Gano has been wearing number 9.
Oh, that's right.
So I've seen that on social media, but I don't know anything for certain. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure for a small amount of college,
right?
The early college fund donation.
If it's important enough to you, deals are here to be made.
Yeah, you know that's right.
But you know, I mean, he's worn number 9 before in his career. But if he wanted that number, I'm sure he's got a nice little gift basket ready for Graham Gano.
A big,
I saw
big
that on
gift
social
basket.
Media.
Yeah.
My other question was, DeVito, are they going to put him on a practice squad or?
You know, we can't say definitively because we don't know, honestly.
Right.
But I think the way that he's played in this preseason, from my opinion, he's earned his spot on a practice squad. If not this one, I think he's been a great spark plug. He's shown some flashes of positivity, but it remains to be seen. You know?
Well, and if you think about this, there are a lot of other teams that are probably watching like, interesting. Let's see could we bring him in for a quick call? So. If someone claims him, he may have to go. If someone calls him, I don't know if it's a big difference. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he can make it back here and keep working out and close to his hometown.
And, you know, I mean, he's probably getting calls and think, you think I'm funny? Funny how?
He's definitely getting calls.
A little Goodfellow moment. But, yeah, you know, I hope for the best, whether it's here or somewhere around the NFL, but he's definitely put some great tape out there in these 3 preseason games.
Yeah, I thought he looked good. I thought when he played this year, I thought he looked good. And I'm hoping they can keep him somehow, hide him somewhere or whatever. The other question, does he count against, if you're on the practice squad, I know he don't count against the 53-man, but what is the deal with the 3 quarterback thing now?
So for the 3 quarterback thing, you can have a quarterback on the practice squad, but you would need this player to be called up to the regular 53 roster for game day to be counted. You can't have a practice squad player available on a game day. So in that moment, that would count in one of the limited amount of times that you can call a player up from the practice squad. John, I believe it's thrice? Yeah. So you can call a player up 3 different times. And then after that 3rd time, you have to decide, snip, snap, you're going to stay, you're going to go. You're going to stay on the practice squad, you're going to stay on the 53. But to be available for that 3rd quarterback position in the regular season game, you have to be on that game day active.
Okay, that kind of sounds like Major League Baseball for a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mark, for the call. Yeah, I mean, it's been fun watching Tommy DeVito, the local guy, Don Bosco High School.
Local guy does good.
Local guy does good.
Yeah, he showed great poise. I think when things were going crazy around him, he showed great poise, sitting in the pocket, delivering passes on time, throwing the long ball, when he had time. Scrambling a little bit, didn't take any big damage during the preseason. So I was like very impressed with him. At first, I'm like, is this moment gonna be too big for him? And once he started, I'm like, definitely wasn't.
Yeah, and I mean, you knew there were nerves going into that, right? I mean, you'd be alarmed to hear that there weren't, and you wouldn't see it though on the field. And I think I like the way that too he got his very first NFL touchdown to his high school teammate Tommy Sweeney. First 2 Giants touchdowns that we saw in the preseason were a quarterback to a tight end with the same first name. Daniel Jones, Daniel Bellinger, of course, coming in week 2. But yeah, so we will see. Of course, the 53 will be set by 4 p.m. The initial 53 will be set by 4 p.m. today. The practice squad won't take shape till later this week as they continue to tinker with the 53-man roster. 201-939-4513. Madelyn, Burke, and Howard Cross here on Big Blue Kickoff Live on a Tuesday, August 20. What month is it? October.
Tuesday.
I'm already in week 8 right now. Let's go. We've got Tom from Stratford on line 1. How's it going, Tom?
Hi, Madelyn. Hi, Howard. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Very
How are you?
How are we doing?
Really good. Real fast, because I know you got other callers. One of the joys about being a Giant fan is actually this show. I love this show so much. And from Pearson and Dom who answer the phone to all you analysts, it's just a joy to I am so much more informed as a football fan, just listening and listening to you guys and watching the show, and it's great. And you have it every day, so I just love it.
Oh, thanks so much, Tom.
Pearson is tearing up over there. That's okay. Just appreciate that. He's giving a big thumbs up.
Dear diary, you won't believe what happened today. Tom said the nicest things.
I'm not going to use any names. I'm just going to say Connecticut is telling Maine that Danny Jones is making the Pro Bowl this year.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Danny Dimes Pro Bowl call. I like that.
With his enhanced offensive weapon and another year in the system, and I'm telling you, the offensive line is going to be better.
Okay.
I think he's going to the Pro Bowl this year.
I like that call.
That's my statement. I'm sticking to it.
All right.
I like it.
I appreciate that. That's a great call. So now let me think about that. Could Daniel Jones make the Pro Bowl this year? Let's
unpack that.
Let's unwrap it. Okay, let's go. Jalen Hurts will be a Pro Bowler, but he'll probably be later in the playoffs, so he won't play in the Pro Bowl. So that's out. The next guy that would be the Pro Bowler in the NFC would be
Dak.
Did someone say Dak?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say Dak is going to have about 20 interceptions by that time and stressing out because he's looking at Trey Lance and like, is this guy really going to replace me? So
we've got a very, very expensive QB3 in this room.
He's got a lot going on in his mind right now with them bringing in Trey Lance. We'll leave Dak for now. We'll leave Dak for now.
Kurt.
You like that? You like that?
Why do we have to keep bringing up Kirk Cousins?
Why are you bringing up old stuff?
Okay, Kirk Cousins, Dak. Give me. Who else?
Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football tweeted out a graphic today that was very interesting. It was a side by side. I know.
Kurt.
Look at you literally brought tears to Howard Cross's eyes. It was a big man you made cry over just one syllable. Kurt.
Derek Carr.
Oh, nice. Okay,
There we go.
1, 2, 3.
But yeah, Kyle Brandt had a graphic that he tweeted out from Good Morning Football, and it was a side by side of Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins since 2016, and their stats were identical with Kirk Cousins with a slight edge, which just shows how much narrative plays a role in everything. Narrative plays a role in so many things. With Daniel Jones last year, passer rating of 92.5, 3,205 yards, 15 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, league low in interceptions. Also added over 700 yards rushing. I believe one of a very, very few amount of quarterbacks to ever have those two, over 3,000 or over 3,200 yards passing and over 700 yards rushing. So his numbers, strong to quite strong. Again, and that's last year.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to say it's going to be enough term, around Dak. That's gonna be something around Kirk. I'm not gonna say. Hopefully they both play well. I think Carr down in New Orleans. I think they have a pretty simple schedule, and Carr is going to probably have a very, very good season. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I think Geno's going to have a problem because you got Brock Purdy out there.
Yeah, I mean, you got. Let's see, are the Rams going to bounce back? Stafford, even though his wife is airing out his laundry on her podcast, saying that he can't relate to the youth.
I'm going to say right now, Stafford is not going to have a good year. Jared Goff.
I mean, people are talking about the Lions.
You know who might have a better year than Goff?
Wow.
Bold.
Sam Howell.
Who?
Just naming quarterbacks.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is actually a low-key guy that I think a lot of people are looking at saying this guy's going to have a jump in his year too. I don't know if it's a Pro Bowl year, but he's going to be a lot better. I mean, he had 76 rushing yards a game last year, and this is a guy who was a passing quarterback at Ohio State.
So if the Giants split the first half of that really tough start, right, and get into the season and get back in position to make the playoffs, people will be talking about Daniel for a Pro Bowl.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about it.
August, not October 29th. It is August 29th.
It'll be a little bit how Geno Smith kind of blew up, and everybody's like, "Wow, Geno Smith he's the man." I'm like, okay.
Geno Smith, comeback player of the year, coming back from being Geno Smith.
Geno said people wrote him off. He just
didn't write back. Didn't write back. You know what? Daniel Jones not writing back either. We've got a lot.
Charlie, anyway.
All right, well, that's a show for us today. It's been a fun one. We've got a lot to get into, a lot of news that is going to continue to unfold, and make sure to stay tuned to Giants.com for all of your latest as Cut Day continues. It is... what is happening? Are you playing? Your voicemail's over here, Howard. We're not done yet. We're not off the air yet. Cut Day, the initial 53. Howard's like, she's starting to sign off. Let me open up my social media. Catch up on my correspondence.
People are calling me. I'm like, what is this? Why is this talking?
How dare they? Anyway, well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Howard Cross. I'm Madelyn Burke. Big Blue Kickoff Live, part of the Giants platforms everywhere, and Giants.com/podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, give us a good review, and make sure to stay tuned throughout the rest of the day as we keep you updated on the first 53, which will be set by 4 p.m. Eastern today. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow with more updates on how this roster looks and how it continues to evolve heading into week 1. Thanks for tuning in.